Hello everybody, welcome to StraightA. Dawson here, back with another video on the NFL Week 5 recap. Really lots of things to talk about, lots of good games, lots of blowouts, I shouldn't say blowouts, lots of one-sided games, and a lot more to talk about with NFL Week 5, kind of again concluding that kind of quarterly part of the thing. Wow, there's a wasp like flying right by my window right here. Nice. But we're kind of getting through that first quarter officially with the fifth week kind of done. Some teams are on bye week, so they're kind of resting up, getting ready to go for next week. I believe that's like the Bucks, the Seahawks, the Chargers, and the Browns or something like that. So those teams are kind of just doing their own thing while the rest of the teams are, still vying for their top spots in their divisions or trying to really rebuild themselves out of the little trap hole they probably put themselves in already. So either way, lots of good games to talk about. And the first one up is the Thursday night game of the Browns and the Commanders. And this was not a good game. This was a very sloppy game from the Commanders. The Bears looked really good. I mean, Justin Fields had another great field day. His passing percentage doesn't look very impressive, but the yardage and touchdowns kind of make up for it. The run game was there. They were doing everything they needed to. DJ Moore, if you play fantasy and you had him or you were against him, you definitely know what DJ Moore did this week. And Cole Kmet got involved in the game too. Defense from the Bears also performed very well against the Commanders and really kind of held them pretty well. But maybe that was also because the Commanders didn't do too well themselves. Now Sam Howell, outside of Sam Howell, who did really good, 388 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Freaking amazing game from him. The run game was just non-existent though. They were only a passing game, so when you're just relying on that, it's really hard. Now, they obviously got a lot of love to a lot of people. Logan Thomas, Curtis Samuel, Antonio Gibson, Scary Terry was a little bit involved. So they got a lot of people involved, but they really couldn't capitalize on a lot of things they did. Excuse me. And their defense really let up a lot more than they should have. Their tackles just were not there. They were just not there defensively, whether it was in the passing game or in the rushing game. They just were allowing the Bears to make up too much ground. And really, like I said, I don't think there was too many turnovers. I don't think there was any fumbles from what I remember. Maybe there was one fumble I couldn't remember. It didn't really show me here to jog my memory. But Commanders' defense looked like Swiss cheese. The offense, I mean, they had the passing yards to do something on offense, but I mean, they didn't have a rushing game, so they kept on getting stuff there, so they were forced to throw it more. And it just kind of led to more and more unfortunate ends for drives for the Commanders. While the Bears were just lighting it up. They were out there killing them. Now, mostly in the second half, but the first half wasn't pretty for the Commanders either. And the Bears may be on the up and up after 2 good games against 2 bad teams. Maybe this is enough to build up their confidence to kind of go up and make a better record. Commanders are kind of on the down and out right now. They're looking really bad because they're playing bad against bad teams, and they're playing kind of good against good teams but not getting the win. So their record's kind of reflecting a poor performance. Now 2-3 is still not awful, but their division's pretty hard, and they still have a lot of tough games ahead of them. So we'll see how they go going forward. But moving on to a good game, really good game, Jags and Bills. 45 points isn't like a star-studded like point-giving game, but man, this game was fun. I watched this one. Trevor Lawrence, good day, just solid. He's putting up the yards. He's getting a touchdown. He's looking like Trevor Lawrence I thought would. And against a good Bills defense, he really outperformed this game. And their run game was even better. Travis Etienne, 2 touchdowns, 136 yards. Amazing. And even Calvin Ridley got a little bit of the kind of the run game fun involved. Calvin Ridley looked like Calvin Ridley again. They're finally getting that connection built back up. Christian Kirk's filling that role of what they should have. This Jags team, this game, encompasses the whole what I thought the Jags would look like. Calvin Ridley being the main threat, while Christian Kirk kind of fulfills that supplemental role. Travis Etienne goes on the ground and really does well, and Trevor Lawrence is looking like Trevor Lawrence. And it's just they have been looking really good. Evan Ingram's kind of gotten involved in this game too. And defensively, they just look solid. I'm not going to say they did amazing. They just looked solid against a Bills offense, which was kind of getting explosive at times, kind of showing some signs of life. They just kind of made those 3-and-outs type plays, and they got up. They stopped them. They did enough to hold them to 20 points, which is great. Which, I mean, when Josh Allen throws a pick, I mean, it does help. But 359 yards and 2 touchdowns, and still only allowing them 20 points. Still pretty good, and that's similar to the Bears defense, I guess, against the Commanders, because technically Sam Howell put up those numbers too. But, I mean, Josh Allen is a specimen of his own. They killed their run game. The run game was non-existent for the Bills. I mean, the most somebody had was 5 carries for -4 yards, and that was James Cook. And Josh Allen was even held to 14 yards on the ground. Now, granted, he got a touchdown on his legs, but Still, 359 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception, and they hold them to 20 points. The Jags defense looked amazing. Now, I'm not going to discredit the Bills. They looked really solid. This was just a really solid game from both teams. Nothing really too bad. Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis killed it out there. Like I said, the only big blemish in this whole game was the run game from the Bills was not there. Their defense did solid. Like, the Bills defense held the Jags to 25 points, which was good. With how good they were looking, they could have easily scored more and more, but the Bills defense were just solid enough to get the tackles they needed to hold them down and hold them to the points that they needed to maybe get back in the game. Not as many sacks, I think like 3 sacks. No, 5 sacks. Holy crap. I guess not really, kind of missed that. And interception-wise, obviously Trevor Lawrence didn't throw a pick, so not really many turnovers. I don't think there was any fumbles from what I remember. But this was just a solid game from both teams, showing the highlights of what the Jags can do and what the Bills can perform to, even against a losing effort, against a really good team. I'm saying the Jags are up there in a really good team light, and the Bills are also just an elite team. So either way, those are 2 of the more fun games to talk about. We're about to talk about not so fun game in the New Orleans Saints blowing out the New England Patriots 34-0. I mean, there's not much to talk about. Even in winning, the Saints didn't look amazing. I mean, they got the points. They did what they needed to. But this is not the stat line you'd expect from like a team like the Saints who just put 34-0 on the Patriots. It looks like they should do a lot better. Holy crap! Oh, itchy nose again. If you watched another video, like I'm still having my itchy nose. But this is the stat line I'd expect from like a 20-point game, not a 34-point game. Derek Carr looked fine. The run game looked fine. Alvin Kamara's doing fine. He's getting a little bit involved in the receiving game too. But other than that, I mean, all this just looks fine on offense. Defense, I mean, obviously they stopped them. There wasn't really anything flashy. They got picks and they got stops. They really didn't. They put a lot of pressure on them. That was about it. As for the Patriots, they need to figure out something at QB. I think either Mac Jones needs to get it together or they need to move on. And not to Bailey Zappi. I mean, they need to move on quick to someone else, either in the draft or something. But Mac Jones may just not be the experiment anymore. I think it's kind of over. I think this game kind of concluded for me that Mac Jones is just a below-average quarterback who will get good backup reps. That's kind of how I see Mac Jones from now on as his future in the NFL. Bailey Zappi is not the answer either. Their offense didn't get anything going. No ground, nothing in the air. Obviously, some people were trying to get involved, but not really much of anything from the receiving game here. I guess I could make this a little bit bigger for y'all if y'all want it. There you go. Defensively, obviously, they didn't do very well. It was more of a highlight, but still, it just was nothing. If you look at these numbers, the tackles are kind of there, but a couple sacks now is about it for the Patriots. They had a little bit of life in them in the first half, and then first quarter, I really should say, and then they just kind of clunk down from there. So, not a very good game, not very highlighted from either of those teams, to be honest. The Saints looked obviously better, but not by much. Divisional game, kind of an ugly game when it came to both these teams as well. Tannehill, this is probably one of his more mid games. I mean, 264 yards and a pick, not very good. Derrick Henry even got a throw, another throw in. Good for him. He's got like more passing yard or passing touchdowns than a lot of QBs maybe. No. The run game wasn't there. They really stopped them. Plus, I think they got behind early on. I didn't watch this game. Tajay Spears came in for a touchdown, though, so good for him. But DeAndre Hopkins put up insane numbers for him. He hasn't done that all year. 140 yards, 8 receptions, but no touchdowns. The Tennessee Titans really just couldn't get anything going in terms of offense. It felt like they had explosiveness that they could utilize, but they just never really got it going. Defensively, they did actually do pretty well. The numbers don't say it much here, but they did do well holding the Colts out for a little bit. But then, I mean, between Gardner Minshew and Anthony Richardson, of course, Anthony Richardson had to, he's suffering from injury. I think he's going to be a few weeks out. I think that's what the injury report said, a few weeks out. But before he went out 9-12, and he didn't do much on the ground at that point. But then again, it was kind of, I guess it was in the first half, wasn't it? Like second quarter. And Gardner Minshew, 11 for 14. Gardner Minshew is if you want somebody as a backup, Gardner Minshew is probably one of the best backups in the league. Colts will be fine in that regard. It's going to be a different kind of game for them. But their rushing game, even without Jonathan Taylor getting carries, they just gave it all to Zach Moss. They are killing it. Now, they paid Jonathan Taylor a bunch of money, so I don't know why they're not using him more. But maybe it's getting him back involved. Either way, Zach Moss just went out there and decided that, let's go ahead and break through the best defensive rushing game of the whole league. Or one of, I should say. Receiving, obviously, wasn't anything spectacular, but the Colts did what they needed to. And defensively, they also just kind of did what they needed to against the against the Titans. I don't see that much flashy, I guess, from them. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna have to cut here 1 minute. Back. Sorry, I had to cut real quick there. But anyway, we're moving on to the next game, Ravens at Steelers. This was also, divisional, hard-hitting game. I did watch a little bit of this one as well, and it was kind of a fun game. Lamar Jackson didn't have a great game. It was kind of more of an implosion-type game for him, kind of his usual midseason meltdown type game. Run game wasn't anything spectacular from the Ravens either. Receivers, they're kind of giving a little bit of love to everybody, but Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews continue to be the focal points of the receiving game. On defense, they did fine. Against the Steelers offense, who have been struggling, you would expect them to do better, but, they did fine. They did what they needed to, held them to 17 points, which is pretty good, but the offense just couldn't get anything going. Meanwhile, on the Steelers, Kenny Pickett, I don't know about Kenny Pickett, man. He looks fine at times, and then he looks bad at others. I could see potential for him being better, but this is second year. Maybe we need to see more flashes. I need to see something more from him more consistently. The scheme fit and the defense are really carrying this whole team. The run game's not doing much either. Can't really say that. Najee's still getting most of the carries, it looks like. Jalen Warren's utilizing them a little bit better, though. Meanwhile, in the receiving game, George Pickens, big focal point here. Otherwise, not really anybody else. On defense, obviously, you got 4 sacks. Yeah, 4 sacks and a pick. Enough to kind of make the game in the Steelers' favor. But a lot of also 4 and outs. The Steelers did really good pressuring Lamar Jackson and the run game, and just didn't allow much in terms of turnover or in terms of first downs there for the Ravens. So it was a really good game from the Steelers defense especially, but they also played well enough on offense and just played a better game than the Ravens. And this seemed like a game that the Pittsburgh Steelers really needed to win after they get really destroyed. So, maybe the Steelers are, still staying in that conversation of like, hey, listen, we're having some rocky points here, but maybe we can kind of fluctuate up, kind of go on the up and up rather than the down and down. Ravens, I still think they're a solid team. It's just that they're struggling. They have some struggle points they need to really address really quickly, and Lamar needs to get it together, just because he's got to be more consistent with his play. Either way, beside the point, that's that game. The Panthers at Lions. Not really much to say here either. Bryce Young continues to show that he's good. He's fine. He's been a good quarterback. 247 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Could be a better game, but could be definitely a worse game. The run game for the Panthers is nothing. They really didn't do anything in this game. Receiving, Adam Thielen continues to be the guy there in Carolina. 11 receptions. Holy crap. I think I saw a stat where he has at minimum gotten 8 receptions or 8 targets or something. Insane. So he's putting up the numbers, and he's having a really good year, especially with Bryce Young showing Bryce Young has that connection with him. Outside of that, really nobody else. DJ Chark got a end zone hit, and apparently Tommy Tremble got involved. Good for Tommy Tremble. You never see him anymore. Other than that, defensively, just really wasn't much from the Panthers. They have a weaker defense right now, and I think it's kind of starting to show later as they get later and later in the season, especially against a really high-octane offense against the Lions. 20 for 28, 236 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jared Goff is Jared Goff. He just played like Jared Goff. David Montgomery continues to carry the run game there. No Jahmyr Gibbs. I believe he was suffering from a minor injury. So we'll see how that recovers in the future. Other than that, Sam Laporta, again, kind of continues to be one of the best offenses in terms of receivers, or in terms of best receivers that they have for tight end, I guess. So one of the best tight ends in terms of receivers. Sorry, I had a message on my phone, and I was like, oh, probably caught up by the microphone. Either way, other than that, Josh Reynolds continues to kind of get involved, so he's staying relevant there. Defensively, the Lions' defense is just doing what they need to against a good Carolina offense. They did what they needed to. They got a couple picks, made Bryce Young pressured, really killed the run game. The Lions' defense is just really helping assist the offense here. Offense is really the focal point, what's going to win them the season if they're going to do anything in terms of playoff runs or Super Bowl run. It's going to be the offense, but the defense has to still stay in that at least middle range way of stopping teams when they need to and holding teams down to lower points. 24 points for the Panthers, not great, but they're doing what they need to, and the Panthers' offense can be kind of explosive at times. So give them the credit where credit's due. And 4-1 Lions, by the way, pretty good record this early on. Kind of deceiving, honestly. Not deceiving. I'm saying deceiving in more of the. It feel like you wouldn't think they'd be 4-1, but they are. Either way, also another good game. Just kind of just from two teams that have just been playing very up to par with each other, very even playing field. I mean, the Texans have their strength and the Falcons have their strengths. And I believe the Texans have better offense versus the better defense of the Falcons. But the Falcons' offense kind of held up to themselves this game a little bit. C.J. Stroud looked probably one of his lesser good games. I mean, 249 yards and a touchdown, still pretty dang good. But the run game was, it was fine. It was not really anything, not really good, but it was there, I guess. Dalton Schultz actually got really involved this game. Tank Dell and Nico Collins both kind of evened out this game. So maybe that'll be a trend going forward. Meanwhile, defensively, I mean, Texans just did fine. I mean, the defense is still kind of young and up and kind of really rebuilding themselves. And the pass pressure was there, but wasn't as much as they should. And they did kind of help stall the run a little bit because the run for the Falcons definitely did not get anything really too going. So that was kind of the main focus for the Texans, it looked like, was to stop the run. They kind of got to the passer a little bit, but not like anything too crazy. In terms of how Desmond Ridder did, 329 yards and a touchdown, like I said, you would think the Falcons' offense would have been a weaker point going to this game, and this game they kind of upped and upped it. 329 yards feels really high. I thought that was a little bit lower, like 260, but Desmond Ridder did look good out there. This was one of his better games. You know, it's one of those things where I think the Falcons played up better than what the Texans did. So I think going into this game, both teams played very similarly, but the Falcons just had a better day. Overall, on offense, they looked better. On defense, they did what they needed to, while the Texans kind of had some weaker points. Their offense wasn't up to par of what they could do. The run game wasn't there as much, and the defense really, helped stuff the run, but kind of let Desmond Ridder kind of run a little bit wild. Put a little bit of pressure on him, but still, Desmond Ridder did well today. Or I guess that day, Sunday. Kyle Pitts actually got really involved this game, and Drake London as well. Jonnu, I guess it's Jonnu. Smith also got involved. Really good receiving core from that in this game at least. Kyle Pitts also getting involved is really cool to see. Meanwhile, on defense, I mean, again, the numbers don't reflect it, but they just did well in keeping the Texans down. Really making the plays, making sure the plays don't get completed, I guess, especially in the passing game. So the Falcons did really good. I mean, they didn't get any splashy plays, but I mean, they did what they needed to, held them to 19 and got the win. Meanwhile, if we go to Giants at Miami, I mean, whatever game. I mean, Daniel Jones did get hurt. I think it was a neck injury. So hopefully he's all right. I think he'll be out for a few weeks from what I recall. Tyrod Taylor came in and did fine. About a little bit over 200 yards for both of them in between. The run game wasn't there without Saquon Barkley. I think he should be back next week. So we'll see if that comes back. Darren Waller is the main guy there, receiving wise. Otherwise, it's kind of nothing. Kind of the same story in that regard. Defensively, they actually picked off twice. They picked Tua off twice. But otherwise, I mean, they didn't do too much. I believe they couldn't even stop the run game from what I remember. And yeah, I mean, Devon is just 151 yards, 1 touchdown. Heck of a game. Raheem Mostert even got a touchdown, 65 yards. Tua again did throw 2 picks, but 308 yards, 2 touchdowns. Still pretty impressive. And Tyreek Hill had a field day once again against the really lackluster secondary of the Giants, and really did really well. He continues to put up really insane numbers, especially against bad teams. And wow, I did not realize in perspective here how many times they sacked. How much that 2.5, 3.5, 4, 5, 6.5, 7 times. Holy moly! I've never seen these numbers from the Miami defense in terms of sacks. So good for them, getting up there to Tyrod Taylor and Daniel Jones. I don't know exactly what the split there was, but that's kind of insane. So, I mean, this is more or less what you expect from the Miami Dolphins. They're putting up the points they need to. Giants are, not doing too much here. Moving on to the Bengals at Cardinals. Finally, we had a little bit of a resurgence, kind of a breather of life from Joe Burrow and the offense from the Bengals. Joe Mixon even had a suitable day. He did fine. Jamar Chase had a field day. We said DJ Moore had a field day. Jamar Chase also had a field day. Somebody in my league actually had both Jamar Chase and DJ Moore. Rip to his opponent. Joe Burrow, 36 for 46, 317 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. This is more the Joe Burrow we need to see. And granted, it was more against a weaker team in the NFL, but it was at least a nice little confidence booster for the Bengals. The defense is still kind of struggling a little bit. I mean, they had a fine game, I guess. I mean, they got to the passer a little bit, the picks there. So if it wasn't for the defense kind of doing as well as they could, the offense could have looked worse, or at least the offense of the Cardinals could have looked better. But they still did fine. in terms of pressuring the Cardinals and making sure the run game is just kind of quelled down a little bit, and especially in the passing game as well. Because Joshua Dobbs did not have a good game. 15 for 32, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 166 yards. Not a great game. They really just put either pressure on him, or they picked him off, or they just really didn't make his passes incomplete. Joshua Dobbs really didn't have a whole lot of time this game. But the defense of the Bengals looked good, but they didn't look as good as they, I guess, I don't know. It felt like there was something still off with the Bengals defense. I can't really put my finger to it. The run game really wasn't too much there for the Cardinals. James Conner, I believe James Conner suffering from injury now, so Amari DeMarcado is kind of taking more of those reps now. Meanwhile, in the receiving game, I mean, Marquise Brown continues to be the main guy there. Otherwise, not really much. The defense, not too much else to talk about with the Cardinals. They actually did pretty well against the Bengals, considering the 34 points on the screen there. But they actually were able to kind of quell them a little bit. Definitely stronger than the offense today. But I think the Bengals really need this win, and the Cardinals kind of show that they're a better team than people let on, but it's not, still very good for them. Meanwhile, and maybe when Kyler Murray comes back, maybe they'll do a lot better. Meanwhile, another fun game, more of an upper tier game. The Eagles at Rams. Jalen Hurts did fine, and the run game did fine. Not really much there. I mean, Jalen Hurts again continues to be the guy on the ground. Meanwhile, receiving wise, AJ Brown was kind of a big story there, but the bigger story was Dallas Goedert. Touchdown, 117 yards, 8 receptions. Wow. Whew. And DeAndre Swift got a little bit involved in the receiving game too. Otherwise, it was kind of quiet. I mean, Kenneth Gainwell, Devonta Smith, Quez Watkins, and Jack Stoll did not really get much love here. Defensively, I mean, I don't know what to say about the Eagles' defense. They just stop teams. They don't really, they get sacks, yeah. They get some interceptions, but they just stop teams. From what I remember, the run game was not there for the Rams, and 53 yards from Kyren Williams. Granted, they were down pretty early, so they had to make up a little bit. Matthew Stafford put up fine numbers, nothing too crazy. Cooper Kupp came back and, definitely showed that he's, good receiver. He's back and he's going to play a little bit. Puka still got his love, so it looks like Puka's still going to be a very focus point for Matthew Stafford in that offense. Meanwhile, defensively, the Rams actually kind of kept up pretty well early on. Ernest Jones, the fourth, I guess, 10 tackles, really insane, 5 assists, so 15 total, kind of. But the Rams defense did what they needed to. They were just fine. But then they kind of got stopped more and more as the game went on. They kind of got more fatigued, it seemed, than the Eagles. So it was a fine game. Both teams looked impressive there. Nothing really too bad from either team. Eagles looked really good. The Jets at the Denver Broncos. Unfortunately, I did watch this game as well. What do I say here? Zach Wilson, of course, kind of went back to what we expect more from him, I guess. He didn't play a great game. He didn't play good at all, really, to be honest with you. He kind of played down what we thought. He kind of more played he threw a pick, no touchdowns, 199 yards, and 19 for 26, which isn't a bad completion percentage. But Breece Hall is really killed the Swiss cheese defensive run of the Broncos. Breece Hall just had a field day, went out there and said, all right, I'm still the number one guy here in New York. So, actually probably both New Yorks anyway. I was about to say New York Jets, but no, New York in general. Meanwhile, in this receiving game, nobody gets a whole lot of love when Zach Wilson doesn't do whole well. And defensively, the Jets really did well, quelling Russell Wilson, the offense in general. Russell Wilson couldn't get anything cooking in terms of receiving game or passing game to his receivers. And he got sacked a few times. Not as bad as I thought it would be against a good, solid team. But we also just couldn't get a really good run game going. Jaleel McLaughlin and some Samaje Perine, bless them, they just really couldn't get anything going there. Russell Wilson, his numbers don't look bad, but this is not the numbers he's been putting up. And against a team when they put up 31 points on you, pretty bad. Especially Russell Wilson with that bad fumble near the end of the game, which then led to a loss. In terms of receiving, though, I will say, they couldn't get anything going on the ground. Jaleel McLaughlin and Samaje Perine did get some things going on the receiving game because Jerry Jeudy got a little bit of focus point, and Cortland Sutton's like, nope. And Marvin Mims like, nope. But the running backs actually got a lot of love here, so good to see that. And defensively, there's really nothing. They did get actually a few sacks, 4 sacks, and a pick from Patrick Surtain. Not surprised there. But, this Broncos defense is kind of looking like Swiss cheese in terms of the run. In the secondary, they look better, but still not amazing. The pass rush is getting better and better, but the Broncos defense still look like buttery cheese. buttery cheese. I felt like really like a bad thing to say. Anyway, let's go to the Chiefs and Vikings game, a game which I actually enjoyed a lot too. Watching this one, Patrick Mahomes looked like Patrick Mahomes. A little bit less so though. He's not doing as like if I put up the numbers you would normally expect from him. This is like normal numbers. Like, okay, Patrick Mahomes, all right, I see you, boy. The rushing game continues to be fine for the Chiefs. And the receiving game, Travis Kelce did suffer from a minor injury, I believe, so he might be out for a couple weeks, but we'll see. Rashee Rice still is getting some more love. I think he's going to become more of a focus point as time goes on. Justin Watson, I believe, is the backup tight end, so he's getting a little bit of love too. I mean, obviously, they love tight ends there in Kansas City. Otherwise, they're kind of just getting distributed a little bit evenly in the receiving game. Defensively, Chiefs just do good. It's kind of similar to the Eagles in a lot of sense. They're not going to put up flashy numbers, but they're going to stop teams where they need to. Lesser extent to the Eagles, of course, but still. Kirk Cousins, 29 for 47, 284 yards, 2 touchdowns. A more modest game from him. So pretty similar games between both him and Patrick Mahomes. Run game was nothing, so I'm not going to really acknowledge that. Now, Justin Jefferson did suffer from a minor injury. I believe he's out for a few weeks. Actually, a lot of kind of critical injuries this week. So Justin Jefferson will probably be out for 3 or 4 weeks, probably is what I heard. But we'll see as time goes on. Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson will continue to be a focus point, though. They actually did pretty well in substitution for Justin Jefferson, who I believe got out in the first half, from what I remember. Otherwise, I mean, it just was overall fine. The defense for the Vikings really didn't catch up any slack that really needed to be picked up. They kind of just continued to look how they have this whole season, which is kind of subpar at best. The Chiefs kind of ran all over them, both figuratively and literally, and it led to a Chiefs victory. I mean, there's not really much to say there. They really didn't. I will say there was a small controversy at the end. I'm not going to even really talk about that one. That was very minor, I think. I mean, there's some nitpicks you can take, but whatever. Meanwhile, another blowout, pretty much. This game was also a lot of fun to watch, but for the exact opposite reasons of other games. I love seeing the 49ers run up all over this Cowboys defense. And the offense of the Cowboys just getting destroyed by the 49ers. Dak Prescott did fine in the first half. I will say that. Dak Prescott did fine in the first half. Second half, he came apart. Three drives in a row, I believe, with 3 interceptions. Not very good. Cooper Rush even came in there at the end where he had a couple passes, whatever. Rushing, there's nothing there. I mean, they were behind so early they just couldn't get anything going. And none of their receivers got any love except for Kevontae Turpin. Good for him. And defensively, again, nothing. Like, they got a sack, sure, whatever, good for you. But when the 49ers put 42 points on you, and Brock Purdy is only in for, like, 3 quarters and not, like, maybe a little bit more of a 3 quarters. 4 touchdowns, 252 yards. Amazing game from them. Run game was fine. Actually, I will say the Cowboys did do well in quelling the run game, especially when Christian McCaffrey was out there. Give him that. But, I mean, Jordan Mason came out there so early. They got 10 carries. That's so crazy that they destroyed the Cowboys so early on that they brought in their backups in so early. Like, that was in the fourth quarter. Like, it was a solid 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter, I believe. Crazy. Either way, George Kittle had a field day. Anybody who had him fantasy, let's go here. 3 touchdowns, 3 receptions. Really, I mean, George Kittle just killed it today. Otherwise, I mean, everybody else got a little bit of love too, but again, they really didn't need to. Kyle Juszczyk, by the way, getting a touchdown pass. Nice. Otherwise, defensively, again, three picks. Distributed pretty evenly, a couple sacks, so the offensive line of the Cowboys really didn't hold off too well. I really didn't notice that from the 49ers. It just looked like they kept on pressuring them or stopping the pass, and they really did. 49ers are like the team to beat. There's no way, like, they're on a whole nother level. Any team could beat them right now, and I still say they'd be the top team in the whole NFL right now. They just look too good. Unless they get embarrassed, then maybe. But still, man. And I reluctantly, I kind of turned in and out of this game. It kind of made me a little bit mad because Jordan Love was not, like, this game was just kind of a whole bunch of mad for me. The Packers at Raiders. Jordan Love just was not doing it this game. He just didn't get anything going. Aaron Jones, I did get turned into this game because the opponent I had faced, he had Aaron Jones left and 16 points to make up. And then Aaron Jones was classified out, and so I was like, nice. And then I kind of watched in and out of the game. But A.J. Dillon did fine, but not as good as he probably should have. He utilized the downs fine, but he just is they just throw him to the line. He's not really doing anything flashy. He's just throwing to the line to get yards. About it. Receiving, I mean, a little bit quiet. Christian Watson got a little bit of love. But that's about it. Defensively, it doesn't look like 4 sacks in a row right here and a pick, I believe. I saw the pick. The pick was nasty. It was not Jimmy G's fault. I kind of tuned in and out of this game, and it was just lots to hate from this. And you look at the Raiders. Jimmy G did fine. 208 yards touchdown, interception. Why is Josh Jacobs up here? Did he get, what the heck? Okay, whatever. Josh Jacobs is also fine. I mean, he just a fine game from Josh Jacobs and the run game from the Raiders. Otherwise, everybody got a little bit of love. Devontae Adams wasn't as much of a focal point as you would think, and defensively, the Raiders actually did really good. There was a good plus side to this whole game. It was the defense from the Raiders looking really good, both in the pass rush and in covering the receivers. But this game was just really infuriating to watch, mostly because I don't like the Raiders, and also because I kind of like Jordan Love, and it was kind of frustrating to see how poor they all were playing, and it just wasn't a fun game overall. It was fine, I guess, in some regards, but it could have been a lot more fun, especially for a Monday night game. Beside the point, that is NFL Week 5. Nothing really to go over. Kind of quick glance at NFL Week 6. Lots of fun games it looks like could be happening. So we'll kind of see Saints Texans, I'm noticing here, and Colts Jags. So we'll see some nice little matchups next week. Tune into our power rankings where I rank all the teams and where I believe they currently rank. And also our NFL predictions, where we count up our record and kind of keep a tally mark, and we'll do something fun with all that. And we also keep up with other NFL YouTubers who are kind of making predictions as they go, keeping their record also on there, as nice little perspective of where all of us kind of rank in that regard. So it's a lot of fun. So if you love some banter, if you love seeing the boys get together and just hanging out, tune in that video. Leave a comment down below and let us know what you want to see on this channel. I do plan on getting more content out there pretty soon, but it's taking me a while. It's just like we're in October, work's starting to go, school's starting to go, so just kind of getting things rolling a little bit. But if you have any suggestions for anything we can do, let us know. Leave a comment down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you guys for watching. StraightA Dawson out.